Hello and welcome everyone to our highlight show. I'm Nazi Paikidze and I'm here with Grandmasters Yasser, Seirawan and Peter Svidler.
It was a pleasure being with you both today. An eventful day.
Eventful day indeed. Let's check our standings after round one. We had two decisive results. So now we have two co-leaders, Alireza Firouzja and Wesley So, with 1 point. There were a lot of draws. Fabiano, Levon, Noderbeck, Jan Krzysztof, Pragg and Gukesh drew their games. And as you can see, two players are at 0 points.
And the first to finish their game here was Levon.
Absolutely, and while it may have seemed a little bit dry, Levon definitely had some chances in that game, as he has himself explained in an interview. So let's take a look.
He missed rook.
Yeah,
it was just a blind spot.
He was not trying to draw that position.
No.
He was clearly the only side playing for a win there.
And look at
he was even pointing to the one square. Yeah, it was very clear what happened there.
Exactly at this position, you picture in your mind, okay, if b5 takes, if rook b8, king e2, I'm better.
Look at rook d2, you're happy with a4.
Yes, rook d2, I go a4, and I'm winning a pawn. And of course, you look at rook check, king e2, and you go, okay, the rook is hanging. You'll go after my pawn, but I'm not going to take your pawn. I'm going to play a4. And then when you play b5, I'm going to be a pawn up, and let's hope I can win. No. Rook b1. Very, very nice move. Easy to move.
Forces a draw.
I used to be in denial at first. Then I had the moments of when I was angry about it and I was trying to change it. Now I am on the stage of acceptance, you know, so I try not to expose myself to huge risks in the first round.
Is there somebody influencing this type of thoughts and this type of, you know, change of pace?
Mostly
your
myself.
Mindset?
Mostly myself.
Yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
But with all of this, suddenly I got a slightly better position.
You did?
And just when I got a slightly position, I blundered.
And yeah, Levon explaining things as they are, as he always does. The second game to finish was not dry at all. That was a game between the two Indian prodigies, Gukesh playing white against Pragg. And we start from this position. This is early in the opening. There was a very sharp opening. Queen's Gambit accepted is not always sharp, but this one is. And here, Pragg, I think that was the first moment where he began thinking. He was playing very fast until then. And here he chose not to play the move bishop g4, which would have equalized quite comfortably, and preferred instead to play b5, driving the queen to the absolutely best square on the board, queen h4, and then knight bd7, which is very dangerous. Knight g5 here was strong, but even after rook he1, Pragg missed the chance to play c5, c4 here, h6, knight d2. And here he clearly disliked his position enough to go for something which he must have realized was extremely risky. Knight takes d5, knight takes d5, queen takes d5, bishop e4. Queen takes a2 was a possible bluff in a practical game, but unfortunately for black, after bishop takes 8 and knight b6, knight a4 is a very strong threat, but white can create a stronger one by playing knight e4, knight a4, rook d8, queen b2, and king d1. And it turns out that these checks don't really matter all that much, while those checks will just end the game on the spot, and white wins here. Because of all this, I guess, Pragg went for queen d4, queen c4, king b1, and rook b8. And this is an interesting little point, I guess, of one of the important turning points in the game, where both of them didn't have very much time, and Gukesh in the end went for a practical choice of a very beautiful bishop sacrifice, leading to a very unusual capture of a queen in the very center of the board. But instead of that, queen e7 instead of bishop h7, g6, and he said in the interview that he couldn't really figure out just how much better he was here. And in fact, after rook d6, rook b6, the only move that gives white really anything is the move bishop b4, c6, which is very missable. But if you do find that, the black position starts falling apart. Bishop h7, a black took, rook e4, knight b6. Objectively not the best move, but as we will see in the game, it does create imbalances, and probably in practical terms was a good choice actually. Rook takes c4, b takes c4, king c1 is correct. Bishop f5, g4, bishop g6. All of this is logical and strong from both players. And here Gukesh, who I think had less than 15 minutes, chose not to play knight e5. I think his decision not to play knight e5 was based on the fact that after rook e8, knight g6, f g6, as he said in an interview, he did not realize how strong b2, b3 was in this position. He calculated all the way up to here and didn't see just how strong this was. The knight gets kicked back, and then white starts an attack of their own. But I just want to present a line present it without comment, as they say. Knight a4, this was shown to Gukesh by Christian Kirill, and Gukesh just kind of nodded and said, yeah, none of this was calculated. But it's so beautiful, I want to show it to our viewers. Black has this fantastic option of playing basically a full queen down. And the only way for white to get anything at all is to play rook d8, c3, b takes c3, knight takes c3, mate in 1 threatened. As always, black is only doing this because the queen is completely out of play. Rook d2, check, king b2, game over. Not so fast. Mate in 1 threatened. King b3, game over. Not so fast. Mate in 1 threatened. And now the absolutely forcing continuation. Sorry, not this actually. No. Knight takes a6 is very important. You need to remove protection from the knight on b5. Check, check, check. Game over? Not so fast. And this position, this is still not game over after rook e2, but white apparently is better. I just wanted to show this because this is like a prime example of how beautiful chess is when you have a computer to analyze it with. Instead of all that, Gukesh played g5. Now c4, c3 would actually introduce all three results into the game. Instead, Pragg played knight a4, which would have given white a bit of an advantage, but I think, judging by the interview, Gukesh either completely missed or underestimated how strong this move knight e4 is. I think it's very missable from afar. And having not seen that, he kind of bailed out with the move knight e5, and from here on out, the game continued in a very logical fashion. Knight takes b2, knight g6, fg, and white just gives up the rook on d1 to give a perpetual on the king's side, and perpetual was achieved. Probably the craziest game of the round.
Right.
Not the cleanest, but for a first round game, I think a tremendous fight from both of the young guys. Very enjoyable game.
Thank you, Peter. And a round that featured everything. It was a gift that Wesley received in the first round. Have a look. Peter, what happened? And we'll cue up the video.
Absolutely. So we were discussing how safe this position is without the rooks on, and it is very safe. I tried making it difficult for black by perhaps allowing this and then leaving yourself with a very passive knight on e8, but even this position, the machine says, is completely fine somehow. Instead, Jack played knight g7, which is also completely fine. Wesley tried g5. And the thing about g5, if black does this, for instance, you actually have to be a little bit precise with white to make sure you have equality. You can definitely imagine starting to feel quite uncomfortable with the white pieces here,
right?
Because this is more of a target than a passer,
right?
And even knight gf5, the move that Deak chose after gf6, knight c8 is fine, but the normal move, of course, is just knight e6, king e6 to follow. Black has no risk.
No risk.
This is completely fine. Instead of which, knight takes g3 was played. In a very typical setup where a knight next to a pawn next to a knight, where this is the one move that helps, but it's unavailable because the square is occupied, and this is just a full queen. And the game instantly ended, Deak resigning here, and not a move too early.
And let's take a look on the video of that. Wesley was not at the board at this moment, and again, knight c6.
Deak has a minute, well, I mean 40 seconds, but for him, we've watched him play on 20 seconds for...
Wesley comes back and sees knight takes g3.
And he goes, whoa, what did you just do?
And Wesley didn't even reply immediately because I think he couldn't believe his eyes.
He's looking and just making sure f7 does queen a pawn, right? Doesn't
Yeah, and Deak gets up.
Deak hasn't even realized that he's just... In his mind, he's expecting the knight to be captured, and then he's going to bring his knight back, and he's going to win that pawn on e7. And f7's the cold shower. If you don't see it, you don't see it.
I think you came up with a new chess term.
It's not new. It's called just time attack.
I've never heard it before. Time attack.
Really?
So this is a time attack move.
Yeah, just a time attack. Yeah, I mean he had less than a minute to. And see, he was also getting nervous.
Yes. Well, it definitely worked. The time attack worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was slightly fortuitous, but The other decisive game of the day was nothing of the kind. I think it was a masterpiece by Alireza. There were some mistakes at the very end, but they were not really all that bad. And in general, he just played a very, very clean game. I was very impressed, both with his opening concept and with the conversion once he got a very large advantage. Take a look. Just briefly, let's go over to the board. I finished my little dissertation on this topic by saying now MVL will of course play bishop b5.
Of course.
Which he hasn't. And he did transpose back to the position Alireza could have forced but didn't. And then MVL just entered it on his own accord. And he has now been met with the move knight takes d5. He's already recaptured e d5, now queen takes a7.
Check.
And the position just falls apart. The best line the engine offers is this one where you are just completely and utterly dead.
Rook h4.
And resigns because, yeah, well, the queen gets picked up with checks on the next few moves.
Beautiful
Wow.
for Alireza.
Yeah, very nice game. It somewhat, you could say, maybe somewhat marred by not finding the combo at the first time of asking, but in general, Alireza just outplayed MVL today.
An impressive victory indeed.
Great start for Alireza.
Yep.
Well, thank you for watching our highlight show. Join us again for day 2.
See you all tomorrow.
See you then.